got Aaron from Silent. He's the Chief Disconnection Officer. And
Director of Disconnection.
Is that what it is now?
Yeah.
Okay, Director of Disconnection.
Flows better.
All right. Man, you never sit still. You're constantly on the move. I had you in here a few months back. It was episode 58, Eli, or 58 or 59. I think it was episode 58. And we talked about kind of how we got to know one another initially, and then we were talking a lot about the products and just kind of this whole concept around what it is you guys do. So I want to have you back in here and talk about that, because a lot of things have come up as we've been working a little bit more together. I've had a lot of questions about stuff and about this whole concept of protecting your privacy, your security, and your health. Which are like the 3 pillars that you guys work on, and that's my jam. So welcome back, man.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
What do you
just like all of a sudden here? It feels nice.
Yeah, what have you been doing?
Oh, on the move. But that's kind of how I've created my life and travel a lot for work and business. But we put a significant amount of effort into equipping the warfighter with the latest and greatest signal blocking tools. It's a big threat for them operators to get located and get into some hairy situations. So yeah, we've been leaning into a lot of that and doing trade shows, meeting up with people, flying to Air Force bases, doing just everything we can. Starting to make sense to spend the money and the effort, and it's very relationship based, which it's been a good role.
Yeah, that's an interesting period of time. Like where you get to this point, like we've spent so much money in developing the product and making sure we have the right thing. Then you have to go out and you've got to make people aware of that product. Yeah, they're sort of aware of the problem. They need to be aware of the product, and that is not an easy or inexpensive thing to do.
And it's a long road because everyone wants something unique and different, like different features on a backpack or something to carry. So we're trying to please everyone and also make it a dual purpose product. So we have a bunch of stuff in the works, which is exciting.
So when you say dual purpose, can you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, like you could use it.
Just a regular guy.
Commercial and military government, something that kind of fits 2 things.
So you mentioned the trade shows. Are these like more military law enforcement based, agency based things, or what? Like who's putting these things on? Where are you going?
DC, Modern Day Marine, AUSA, the Army, SHOT Show, obviously, where we originally met. Yep. It's coming up in January. I mean, months just are like blinking by.
Agreed.
I know. And yeah, without giving away the farm, I mean, there's smaller stuff, there's more intimate things, but it's, I mean, the use case for what we're selling, signal blocking goods, is like very relevant for people that have their life on the line, and we're not escaping these devices by any means, and that is the same for on the military side as well. And it's it's something fun to talk about. Like it's the most exciting opportunity, but we're primarily focused on our commercial side, which is going really well.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that. I mean, again, it wasn't too many months ago, things were really starting to kind of get rolling for you. And like I said, like, it just seems like when I talk to you and or the members of your team, like there's always something moving and shaking. And that's exciting to hear for a quote unquote small company, small business that started. Like, and people can go back and listen to sort of the whole story, but maybe you can kind of give a little bit like the Reader's Digest version of how the product came to be, or the products came to be, kind of where it started and what they're about, what it was originally, kind of what was the premise, what was the thought, and how it's evolved.
Sure. Yeah, why not? I mean, I believe in redundancy when it comes to privacy and security, so why not tell the story more? Because people love it. It's a great story. I mean, we're sitting in San Jose, and it was conceptualized in Aptos, California, just in the hub of Santa Cruz. And my father had this idea in 1998 of like he had cut and sew background, so he was like fabric cutters, and I don't know why, but he sourced a material that had shielding properties in it, which is commonly used in certain things, but applied to a mobile device, it hadn't really taken off or anything. I'm sure in the military they had like Faraday bags for signal management, but he was looking at it from the consumer in 1998, like, oh, how cool is this? And he like cloaks his phone, puts it on the kitchen table, can't call his mobile phone. And I'm like, great.
Okay.
I'm not connecting the dots here. I'm in middle school. But yeah, so flash forward from that, he's always been a big visionary guy, could see the bigger picture. He, in 2008, 2009, he like sampled a bunch of products, called it the Suit Pocket. It was designed for businessmen to have it on the inside. So you could, take your BlackBerry or something, toss it inside, and you're blocking instantly cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, NFC. Can't be located, can't be tracked. So, that's kind of like a big, he was losing his mind. It was the coolest thing.
Can I stop you for a second? So you said like the businessman could put it in his pocket. Was he already thinking like what businessman doesn't want to be tracked, doesn't want to be, have his whereabouts known, but also like any GPS or sorry, not GPS, but like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. I mean, Bluetooth wasn't even a thing then, but all of that stuff. Was he thinking about like the Silicon Valley businessman, or was he thinking beyond that at that time?
I think he was thinking about that, but then also beyond that. I mean, he's still in the hub, like he's in tune with tech and what's going on. I think the way I view it, if I take a step back, it's like they're in 2008, 2009, it's like, you have iPhone coming out and these certain things. So it's like, some people are like creeped out by it because it's new, it's different. So they're like, okay, they had a big pulse of, at the time, just Silent Pocket, and had some great sales. He made it on the news in San Francisco. And it was this novel thing. It's like, oh, we didn't really think about this. How can we mitigate privacy and security issues and retain, a person's autonomy and have like this empowerment feeling? So it had a little quick buzz. And then I got involved in 2012, and it was still kind of like pushing a rock up a hill, because at that point, it had been enough years where people were so used to the convenience of tech. They're like, whatever.
Who cares? They're not even thinking privacy.
No. So then we went through this big chapter of people not giving a shit. And fair enough, because convenience wins. Like, it's an awesome tool. We have phones and everything's connected. But then there's been a lot of external issues and things come to light from like overreach on government, corporation. And like, we've all seen it. You could read it. And those external things helped people question what they were doing and then search for answers. Like, what are some answers and some solutions that we could do? So now Silent, as we grew, there's new form factors. And I created a backpack in 2015, and it didn't sell for a year.
Nobody cared.
I put all my money into it, and it just sat there. And then after that year, things just started to change. And that was like 2016.
You were in a position at that point, like you guys already had a product. You just needed to make people aware of it.
Yeah. I wanted to make things that were like relatable to everyday people, that like it. Now part of our mission statement is to make things effortless. And like, if we can make it effortless for anyone to integrate, then great. Then you just have instant peace of mind, and you could have a component of your life that has a little more control over it, which this world's absolutely nuts and it's scary and it's sad. So to have components of your life kind of put together and having control over it, I think make a big difference for people's headspace.
I think so too. Obviously it runs parallel to, legit security issues for the people that you mentioned. It's sort of at the top of the show, which were those maybe people that are operating in environments that demand a certain level of security because
they don't have a choice.
Yeah, because they don't have a choice. And the choice being you either stay off the grid or you get found out, which could have some very serious implications to other people, to other people's safety, to their lives, at some level. So I think I get that, but I think sometimes that part's a little bit hard for people to wrap their heads around, going, okay, dude, but really, Scott, are you that important? Like, do you really have to have...
Yeah, I don't agree with that. You are that important.
Let's talk about that, because I find value, like I value myself, I value my privacy, my health, my personal shit. Like, it's my stuff. I think you live long enough on this planet, and at some point you're going to get violated in some way. Like, your car's going to get broken into, rummaged through, you're going to lose some shit. I remember as a kid, I was on vacation with my folks. It was over the Christmas holiday, and we always went down to Southern California because the extended family was down there. And I had friends playing in the Rose Bowl. I was in high school, I remember this vividly. And They won. We were at the game and they won. And the point of this is we were on the road for like me, my brother, and my parents were on the road for like 10 days from this whole Christmas to New Year's break. And so you packed up, everything you had. And this was before cell phones and any of that shit. So you had CD players and packs of CDs, and you had all your Christmas presents that you got that you didn't want to leave behind. You wanted to take them with you. You had all your clothing, shoes, different outfits for the formal events that we were going to for the game, and then you picked up all this stuff at the, the souvenirs for the Disneyland trip that we took over. It's all packed into the car. After they win the game, we get invited to go out to have dinner with them at this restaurant in this, I won't mention exactly where well, I will. It was in West Covina. People that know that area down there know about Westco. We parked outside. We came out. Everything that wasn't bolted down, and it was a 1990 Eddie Bauer Ford Bronco, everything that wasn't bolted down got stolen out of that car, or out of that truck. They had tried to get it started. They completely ripped apart the...
Pretty nice car.
Yeah, they completely ripped apart the steering column to try to get it started and couldn't get it started, so they just emptied it out. And again, that was the first time in my life where I've been like, that is just so violating. Like everything I knew, I never even thought about it before. Like, I'd heard about people being burglarized and whatever else, but I never had until it happens to you. Then you know that feeling. It's just that empty, sick, nauseating feeling, that you have in the pit of your stomach. And that really stuck with me. And so whenever I see people that go through stuff like that, I'm just like, it brings me right back.
Well, imagine this. That's happening every day to everyone, but they don't really acknowledge it, from like a digital standpoint.
And this is the disconnect that I think I see people having.
Yeah, I think things are changing. I mean, last time when we spoke, I'm like pretty optimistic because I think there's great software that you could implement and there's tools. But yeah, I did want to say, like, the more we focus on education and this customer that gets it but doesn't quite get it, and we're like on the commercial side, we as Silent, we lead with education, we lead with provocative videos, like we're doing this man in the street thing, which is pretty funny.
They're great, man.
New York and Vegas, so we'll do more of those.
I love those.
The more we focus on that, then all the other use cases of like the law enforcement or military or anyone that just gets it buys it anyways.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we have this North Star of like going off, and like we have an obligation, and we feel like we must lead this charge. And we have competitors, and that's all fine and great, and we're actually like on cool terms with those guys. But we think we're a little bit different, and we want to lead as a brand and make some change. So back to your question.
Go back to my own personal value and valuing my own privacy. Like, again, people are like, dude, you're not that important. Like, come on, man. Like, what do you have? National security secrets?
Maybe.
On your phone and on your... I can tell you I do not, unless somebody's put them there unknowingly to me, but at the same time, like, no, but I do have information in there that I don't necessarily want people having. Whether you think it's important or not, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's my stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't want you in my stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's one of our, I call him an affiliate or ambassador of sorts. His name's Michael Bazell. I don't recall if I had mentioned him last time, but he has really insane books on how to be able to, like, essentially disappear. Mm-hmm. So if you take that as an extreme use case, because he'd want to put everything in a trust, anonymized, in different states, so it can never trace back to person, like, that's pretty awesome. But if you could kind of balance your life a little bit and not just like give in to the convenience of everyone sucking your information, then you're already in a better spot. And why you should care is because if in 10 years, if no one cared from now until 10 years, then you don't have a civil liberty. Like, this is just like, you don't get to make choices. Choices are made for you. So I think there has to be an acknowledgement that if we don't like stand up and make change and acknowledge, then, it's just an erosion.
I don't think 10 years, I think it's happening right now, man. I think to a certain extent, I think it's happening right now. I mean, we think about some of the, well, we've seen tech companies, give in to the government, be subpoenaed to give certain information to people that was to them when they were putting it in their device or whatever time was, that was their information. We've seen tech companies fight back on that. So no, we will not do that. We've seen others give in for whatever reasons. And so I think there in itself, I mean, it's already happened. Like, should that information be made public, or should it be utilized in an investigation? That's not for me to say. I don't know. But what I think that opens up to is now there's a little bit more wiggle room, right? And now we already did this in court, so we already know if we did it without going to get a subpoena first, we're probably going to be okay. Like, and then it goes a little further, and then it goes a little further, and then it goes a little further. And that's on like one aspect of maybe like the judicial system, getting involved, or the law. But we already know the information is being farmed out of our stuff on a regular basis, and we willingly do it all the time. And it's really hard not to. It's really hard to think like what's actually. I think what the hard thing is to stop yourself to think about, like, what am I doing right now, and how could this information get out there? I think that's the hard part. Thinking about what happens once it's out there, that's not hard at all. Like, do I want my social security number out there? Do I want my credit card numbers out there? My addresses, my birth dates, how many firearms I have, what their address is, that those could be located at, those kind of things. Like, no, I don't want people to know that yet.
Yeah.
It is available. And we've seen just in the last couple of years where that information has been doxed by our own attorney general here in the state of California. Right? Like, that information is out there, or it was out there for a period of time, and a very short period of time, but long enough. Once it's out there, it's out there. You can't take that away. And the worst part about it is this happens, and then there's no consequence for that. Again, your information is out there. It went out there. What are we going to do about this? So sorry. This just happened. I don't think it just happened, but that's beside the point. My point is I think this shit's already happening. And I think a lot of people would agree with me, but I think a lot of people would also be, dude, stop being a conspiracy theorist here. And I see that happening. And I've even been, I don't know, accused is the right word, but suggested, like, dude, calm down. Like, you're not, like I said, you're not that important. And this really isn't that bad. It's not as bad as you're making it out to seem. I don't think I'm making it out to be bad. It's just happening. That's my take.
It's like we're just two guys that like hanging out with each other and agree on everying. I don't know if we're going to disagree on anything.
Well, let's not make it too weird.
Yeah, we're in an interesting time. And like I mentioned before, like, I am optimistic that people do care. And you kind of got to not shun the people that say
otherwise.
Just live your life how you want it.
Right.
For the people that want to make change or do certain things, and you could look into it. Like,
yeah. So we're talking about these devices, and there's accessibility. There's this kind of holes that people can wiggle through. Somebody that wants your information can easily wiggle through, whether because you've left the device accessible or vulnerable, or you put out information that then makes your into the world somewhere, like in the internet, in some account.
That's probably one of the bigger ones.
Yeah. So I want to talk about a couple of things. Like, one, like, where are those most risky things for people? Like, if you had to kind of top down go, what are the top most risky? Let's start with places. Like, if you had a mobile device, like an electronic device, let's call it your laptop or your phone, which houses so much information. The phones are basically the laptops now. I mean, it's crazy what these things are capable of. But like, where's the most vulnerable places out there where information is likely to be tapped into, stolen, hacked, whatever?
A border.
Really?
I mean, even as a U.S. citizen, you come back into the country, they essentially have right to access everything on your phone.
Talk about this.
I don't know all the details, but I mean, if you land and there's something suspicious, or there's just like, hey, we're going to search everything, you lose all your rights in this gray area. So then you could just have everything extracted on your phone and downloaded.
So are you talking about like international travel out of the United States to another place, or back in? So if I fly into LAX from Spain, wherever, some other country.
Guy stops you, pull you to the back. They can strip off all your information. You can't do anything about it.
Where does it go?
Into a database. I mean, I'm not saying you're doing nefarious things or you're like up to no good, but like if you had something that could take it out of context, or you were planning on having your friend come and not leave, and it's like a immigration thing, like anything could be pinned. So, but on the flip side, probably more serious is just travel in general. So if you're like landing in a new place and American passport, you got all your devices, like say you're going to Asia, like you're getting harvested, like 100%, like shouldn't bring any of these devices. Like you're just getting harvested, like everything, biometrics, everything's stripped off. So you walk down these corridors that are all white and clean. And you're just like, I can't get into the details, but I mean, plenty of people that can.
Okay, so I don't travel to Asia, but I
Europe,
right.
Anywhere.
I guess what I'm saying is like so people listening going, yeah, dude, but I just I work my 9 to 5 every day, and whatever.
Yeah, but what about what I would say? Like, what about you were talking about regular people, whatever, but what about someone that's in the military and they're traveling commercially and they're coming back home from a deployment or something, and they're bringing home with them and walking into their house with their family? Do adversaries have their location and information about them? And like, that feels uncomfortable just thinking about just that.
I agree with you 100%.
But what about law enforcement? What about like any use case or profession that you're at higher stakes of like not, wanting to be found out? So your privacy and security is that much more important. So you have to take measures and tools to kind of safeguard that.
Where else, like on things that maybe people may come in and like contact with like on a daily basis, they may or may not have thought about, like just locations, places, like regularly visited type spots? I mean, I think airports are, a lot of people use airports pretty regularly, and we hear about that as like there's things to be concerned about there. Not necessarily international airports, maybe, but
any airports. I mean, if I was at a Starbucks or I was just here and someone had a spoofed Wi-Fi that said Red Dot Fitness 2 and I just joined it, well, it's not actually Red Dot. That happens everywhere. So airport's just a heightened place, any dense population place. So you're just connecting to Wi-Fi all willy-nilly, and like, just think twice, because that's just a direct portal into your computer. So yeah, you don't want all your business information, all your personal information, all your contacts, all your scandalous pictures, whatever you have, like it shouldn't go into the hands of someone. So it's just, unfortunately, you just have to be like quite diligent.
Yeah, I think vigilance is the word I think about. When you
don't have to be paranoid, or this isn't fear mongering, but like you have to be diligent. Like this,
if you care.
Yeah, I think people do. It's just ultimately like,
I think it goes back to the convenience piece.
Yeah, that's what I say a lot. It's like, I was thinking about it more because I was talking to some cool companies the other day, and they're creating like an app that can like sniff out an environment so you're aware of what you're walking into. Say I'm a celebrity walking into this room. Is this TV compromised? Is there like hidden cameras?
Right.
Like, are we picking
clock
up signals?
radio shit? Yeah.
Like, is there malicious intent here? Might not be for everyone, but if it was convenient and you could just flick it on and you were like walking into your Airbnb and it's like, oh, cool. You'd want to know, right?
Right. I would want to know. Yeah. You mentioned the Airbnb
Unfortunately,
thing. That's the world we live in.
I had the creepiest Airbnb experience. I don't even know if now's the time to talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it.
So we went up to a wedding in Oakland. It's kind of insane, but went to a wedding in Oakland, and the only Airbnb in the general area that wasn't like a sketchy neighborhood was at this house. It was like a family house, but it was just plasters with pictures of this dude named Dave. And it's like his family. And at first it's like, okay, I'm literally embodying someone's life. Like, this is insane. Like, I feel like
Dave.
I feel like I'm turning into Dave. And so we had a nanny. We left, do wedding. The nanny is like, and whoever's listening, I don't really care. Like, this has happened. But she's like, Dave's here. Like, what do you mean? Like, Dave's in the house. Saw the bed shake. Something broke in the kitchen. Windows are open. And there's like a secret attic, secret basement. There's like, and I'm like, it's after a wedding. I'm feeling good. And I'm like, oh no. anyways, it has been yet to be determined if someone was there, like on computers watching us or not, or if it was just like, like ghosts. But it was a trip. And I don't usually get spooked by that type of stuff. But, I had my family there, and it's like,
vulnerable.
It was so cluttery, the house. One, shouldn't have been an Airbnb. The whole experience was like being in a slightly haunted house. It was a trip. But there could have been cameras anywhere.
Sure.
Could have been a ton going on. And, I didn't have the foresight, or I don't have necessarily the tools on hand every day to like make sure my environment is safe. But back to that application and companies doing cool things that allow you to feel good. Silent's trying to make you feel better. Other companies should try to make you feel better. And we think we feel better in a lot of like what these devices do, but they're like very short period dopamine hits and don't get a ton out of it ultimately. Like I've never heard someone say, I was just on Instagram for an hour and I feel amazing.
Same. I feel so much better.
Said no one ever.
Ever. I literally just had a post up today just on saying the opposite of that. Just going, man, I was really struggling with what I'm seeing and hearing. Like, and I always try to do a pretty good, try to take a really healthy approach by not emotionally investing myself in the world's problems. Like I'm acutely aware of the world that we live in and the realities of that.
Yeah.
And that it isn't all, hunky-dory all the time. But
that's a big challenge for myself.
For sure. I mean, shit that I see out there, and I'm not just talking about what's happening in certain areas of the world. I'm talking about what's happening right here at home. Like right here at home. I mean, spending an hour on Instagram is the most depressing fucking thing you could do right now. Like it's so hard.
Yeah.
It really is so hard. And I understand that it feeds back to me what I feed it. But even when I go in there and I start trying to make adjustments, the shit just winds back up in there. Like I'm not interested. I wish
you could just like erase it all.
Yeah. So, yeah. But the reality of it is I keep going back, right? Like there's
mindlessly.
There's this curiosity.
I hide it for myself and like different. I'm like, there it is.
It's right there all the time. And so I think that's a reality that people need to face. And a lot of people do get sucked into it in a very unhealthy way. But I think some people would argue like, look, man, okay, so you have these devices that can take me away from that or keep me from being maybe exposed to it. There's the physical act of putting it maybe into the Silent Pocket, right? Or putting it into your Faraday cage and knowing that it's in there and it's kind of packed away. So it's like
a massive step.
Yeah, but exactly, it's a way, right? Yeah. It's a way, and that's just I'm not going to interact with it while it's there. I've made up my mind however long that's going to be.
You made an intention, essentially.
Exactly.
It's a lot easier to creep the drawer open and grab your device than if you made an intention to put it inside of a Faraday sleeve. Then you're like, all right, what am I going to do with my time now?
I think that's a huge piece that I don't think many people like kind of think about. Like at nighttime, that's a really important thing for me. Like just the phone goes over here.
Yeah.
Like, and that's, people heard me tell the story before just about like dinner time. Like, no, we don't do phones at the table.
Yeah.
And like we put it over here and we don't touch it. And it's what, dinner's 30 minutes? Like, and there's been times
not entertaining enough.
But it feels, yeah. There's that. It feels when you run in your own business or you've got, you're running there's a highly stressful period.
Just tugging at you.
It's like, I got to see what's going on, or I'm expecting this call or
I'm
this
fully
email.
Guilty of that.
Yeah, we all are.
I hate it.
I think a lot of people are. So the question would be is like, okay, so you make this device where you can put this thing, or this package that I can put my device in to kind of set it and forget it, if you will. Mm-hmm. Why can't I just turn it off and feel the same way?
Yeah, good question. I mean, that's probably like the righteous people in the comments on social are like, just turn it off, double middle fingers. It's like, okay, let's unpack that a little bit. Let's think about what you're turning off. Are you actually turning it off? Are you removing the power source of this mobile device? No. It's an embedded power source, your battery, and your off is really software. It's not off. I mean, for iPhones now, took them long enough, but it still says, hey, it's findable through whatever. That's always been happening.
Yeah, it's not. That's not new. They can be
remotely turned on, so it's like it doesn't even have to be like.
Yeah, say that again.
What?
It could be remotely turned on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just put our head in the clouds a little bit and think a little sci-fi, but like, you don't think every phone in the world could be activated and eavesdropped on and turned on? It's like Ex Machina, Machina, the movie. I mean, that.
Of course it can.
Uber played God.
Talk about that.
Well, Super Pumped's a great book. The series is garbage, in my opinion. It's like this, I can't handle it. But the story is pretty crazy. I mean, Uber broke every law and violated everything and then just apologized later.
Said, yeah.
That's the way of business,
so
right?
Sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, they could access and like play God and shadow ban people and access devices and find out if they're using other, Lyft or other services, creep on their drivers, just harvest data. But, things have changed. At least Apple, like now they have these cool billboards that say Apple's privacy, which is hilarious. But at least they are in the step in the right direction of like adding certain components, everything from like screen time to privacy components of these devices with acknowledgement that, yeah, you're holding a lot on here, you're using it a ton. So I think,
man,
I don't know.
You're asking a lot for me to trust a company like Apple. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
I'm not saying trust them.
I'm not saying you are. What I'm saying is like, even though they're putting this stuff and they're saying they're putting this stuff on there, Apple's asking a lot of me to trust that stuff is somehow keeping my information that much safer. Mm-hmm. Now, just a little tangent to this though, but going back to the question about why can't you just turn it off, right?
Right.
So
we keep doing that.
I know it's easy to do because this is where the thought process goes. And now we've just lost track of this very basic thing, which is no, you can't just turn it off.
Yeah.
The device is always working. And one of the things I was going to say about this when you were talking about like Uber playing God and you don't think it can be remotely turned on from somewhere. We just had a national alert.
There you go.
Right? Everybody that has a cell phone in the United States of America,
unless you put it in a Silent Faraday bag.
You got this alert, right?
Which worked like a charm.
Did it?
Yeah. If we had one of those every week, I think we'd be $1 billion company.
Wow. Yeah, people are probably like, yeah, I need that now.
Yeah. Well, you should get one for sure.
So that's my point. But going back, like, no, you can't just turn it off because even if you turned it off, did people with their phones off get that message? We should Google that.
I'm sure. Bring it up, like they do on Joe Rogan, just stare at
We should figure that out. Yeah, I'm not that sophisticated here yet.
No, keep it simple. So back to that. So your phone there's hardware and there's software. Unless you're physically removing the power source, then you're not really turning anything off. So you're using software, still be eavesdropped on. You got to think about how many radios which emit and receive information are in the devices.
Phone. Yeah.
Like, everything I mentioned before, cellular, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, RFID, NFC. It's insane.
Yeah, there's so much going on in here.
Are we going to take a selfie?
No, I'm trying to pull up my notes here because I had so many questions for you.
Oh, sweet.
So the turning off the phone thing. So like I've done some posts or whatever, and that's what, look, dude, just turn your phone off.
Yeah.
I don't even respond. Like that's not a conversation I can really get into. It's like, if you don't understand this at this point, then the education, like again, that awareness of what the real problem is hasn't been realized yet. Oh, I'll just turn my phone off.
We don't even have to reply on like our socials because other people reply for us. And they're probably a better person to speak on it because they might have privacy security background. Like it might be a little bias coming directly from Silent, but yeah, you can't just turn off when you close your laptop, is it off? No chance. It's not off. So yeah, I think the laptop's a great use case that doesn't it gets talked about quite a bit, but your laptop's right there and it's shut. It's still really on. Mm-hmm. You're not using it. So why not put it in a sleek little sleeve in your backpack or in something else? Just have like this endpoint security where it's just locked down. Like no one's accessing this. All signal in and out, done. Why not?
So on that, like, how will that impact my phone battery? Like when I put this thing in there, so I've heard this before, like, yeah, but if you put it in the sleeve, doesn't it kill the battery because the phone is constantly searching for a signal?
Back in 98.
Right.
I mean, they're smart now, so they actually go into like a dormant mode. It's worse if you have intermittent signal. Like if you're driving and you're going like in and out of service or something, when you get lower bars, your phone's just like, let's find
Juiced
it,
up,
juiced up and really going for it. So that's when you actually get more, when you get a call and when it's searching strongly, that's when you get the most radiation as well. So you put in your head, anyways.
That goes back to the health component, health pillar, yeah.
I know. I feel scatterbrained when I talk about this, but there's just endless use cases and like, it's fun to navigate. I mean, we're not just like a backpack company. Look, we look cool. We use recycled materials. It's like, no, we have an insane value proposition for anyone that wants to join in. But anyways, for the phones, they actually conserve battery because you're fully shutting down and telling the phone, hey, there ain't anything to search for or get out here. So let's just wait until we're pinged. So you could do a side-by-side test, as long as they're like comparable phones and leave one out for the night. I mean, background data cycling.
If you want to test it is what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, normally your phone just has like data pulsing through it for any application on your device. So if you shut that all down, then like obviously it's going to be using less computing power and conserve.
Is there any like validity to like aluminum foil or whatever that you could wrap it in some other type of material? Like what other materials or what lengths would you need to go to in order to get the benefits of the Silent products some other way? Like for some people who's just totally resistant, like, dude, I'm not giving you my money. I could do this at home. I'm a do-it-yourselfer. I could get these materials at Home Depot and do it myself. What truth is there?
Go for it. We'll see you when it fails. But yeah, I mean, the tinfoil is hilarious. I mean, who really wants to walk around with tinfoil on their device? And it might work in certain environments, but it's guaranteed to fail unless you're wrapping it 1,000 times. And it's like this, it's just silly. But I know, like, I've talked to cops, be like, yeah, we just use tinfoil. It's like, okay,
really
cool. That's like, that's like throwing something in the recycling that's not recycling.
That's a good way of looking at it.
It's like, feels good for me.
Right.
Bigger problem for everyone else.
Right.
Recycling is a whole different topic that I need to learn more about, but it's all pretty BS. So yeah, tinfoil, I mean, it's made of aluminum, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's metal. It's designed, it will block signal, but and your phone operates on all these different radios as mentioned. So to fully shut it down, you have to have material that is at the proper, blocks and attenuation and at a certain decibel level, dB level.
Okay.
So you can't just like partially do it and expect to have great results. So people that say just use tinfoil, cost me $2, we just clap back and say, haha, cool. Reynolds wrap is for sandwiches, not for cell phones.
Yeah, I think people are just kind of trolling when they put that stuff up there. But I also think there are people out there that go, yeah, but why wouldn't it work? I mean, because it kind of makes good conventional sense that like if I wrapped it in metal or if it was enclosed in some type of metal container, a concrete container or something like that, wouldn't I go, well, if you're going to go by that wisdom, then you would also think, well, if I'm in, like we're in a fully concrete building here, my cellular signal is just fine in here. Like we're surrounded on all sides by concrete.
It's designed to get through. So yeah, I mean, if you want to use aluminum foil, knock yourself out. Right. It's just like not going to work fully effectively. But it's, also it's like looks terrible. Like care a little bit about what you look like or what you use. And if you have a product that costs more, great. It works. It's fun and easy to use.
It looks good.
It sounds clunky and cumbersome to wrap your device
totally.
up. But to each their own.
I mean, I think about my daily life and I get questioned about like, dude, but when you have it in there, like nobody can call you. Yeah, nobody can call me.
The good old days.
Right. Sometimes that's great. There are periods during my day or during my week or during my weekend where I don't want to be reached. Like people are like, yeah, but who really cares if you're tracking? Like, because as soon as you, if it's in there, okay, they can't track you, but as soon as you pull the phone out, you can be tracked. Yeah, but for the time period that I put it in there, for my reasons for going off grid or being silent, that worked for me. And it wasn't just a feel good. There may have been some other reasons. Those are my reasons for not necessarily wanting to be tracked or have incoming or outgoing signal. Those are mine. You have to figure out what your own why is, right? Yeah. That's my whys could be very much different than yours. But again, I hear this like, well, but I got kids and they might need to get a hold of me. How do you answer that? Like, because I think it's a solid question. I have kids too, but I've thought through this. Like, I thought through it a little bit deeper than just trying to dismiss the product. The number one, the problem, and number two, the product as a means to provide value in my life at times where I want that value, if that makes sense. So, like the mom that's completely, just rebuts with, yeah, but that must be really convenient for you. But I got kids and responsibilities. So I can't do that.
You do it sometimes.
That's my point.
But yeah, I mean, I have a 1-year-old daughter, so I'm not even to the stage of like, selfishly never had to really worry about that, where I valued my own sleep and disconnection time more than anyone trying to intrude on that. But I like what you said. Like, if you use it at a time and a place, like throughout a period of your day, like there's nothing worse than being in flow state and working and having thought process and feeling efficient and good, and then getting pulled right into something that is ultimately steals all that flow.
Happens to me constantly.
Yeah, it happens to all of us. I mean, we have text, Slack, any communication device, you're getting hit on all of them. And if you just have alerts on and ready, then it's designed to consume your entire day. But to parents, I get it. It's a bit of a quandary. But if you have the right environment, or suppose if you had a landline or another device or something of that nature, then you could avoid it. Or you could just, one person could leave their phone out and it could be in the other room on high ring, and then the rest of the devices could be wrapped up. I mean, there's a way to
there 100% is a way.
There's a way to chop it up, but could be a little inconvenient, I could see.
So this goes back to the convenience.
Yeah.
Right? And so I grew up in the 80s. I was an 80s kid.
You're right? Here. You're doing just fine.
I'm doing just fucking fine. Same with my brother.
We
had landlines. There was communication that happened outside of the cell phone, believe it or not. Like, before we had text messaging and Facebook and cell phone signals and all that stuff where everybody had a cell phone in their hand, we actually communicated in different ways. Yes, there were landlines. So there were things that happened like, I am going to be here from this time to this time.
Let's bring that back.
If you need to reach me, this is where you can reach me at between these hours. Like, and you were satisfied with, okay, between those other hours, I'm unreachable, right? And here's the alternative. Like, if you can't reach me, then you can reach this person. Like, we just had these conversations, and then there were other things. There was more normalcy to it. There wasn't so much, I think, as much as these things are a leash, these devices are a leash to a lot of things. I think they also have done the opposite and given people like a false sense of confidence or security, or allowed people that maybe need to be on a little bit of a tighter leash, like kids, for example, to kind of just be out there, because parents have this false sense of security that I can get a hold of my kid at any time and know what they're kind of doing at any time. And the reality of that is that's not fucking reality.
Yeah, good point.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's ways around that. So I hear that and I go, okay, I think you just need to think through this for 10 more seconds, because there are ways around this. And again, if you're a 20-year-old, 20-something-year-old mom and you don't know what a landline looks like, or a rotary phone or whatever, I get it. You might have to think a little harder than me, because I remember what this was like. And again, what the fuck would I know? I'm an old person. I could be that person's dad, at this point. And I know how my 21-year-old looks at me sometimes when I talk about stuff. She's like, Dad, what the fuck would you know? Kind of thing. But I hear that. And so you talked about, like, there's a points during my day where I could decide, again, getting into a workflow state. That's a really good example, because I am constantly interrupted by the things. Yeah. I mean, you're working on a laptop, plus you got your cell phone sitting next to you, your alerts come up, you get the calls, you get the texts, you get the emails, all that kind of stuff. The DMs pop through, and we're trying to manage our lives. It's so many different levels all the time. And the human brain, we as humans are not supposed to be able to manage all this incoming at the level that we were sometimes expected to manage it at, from like a professional level or whatever. Like, I sent you an email 20 minutes ago. Yeah, but I also got 17 other emails from you, that kind of stuff. That might be stretching it a little bit, but I don't think it is. I mean, I think we're just overloaded with the communication constantly. Yeah. And we've forgotten how the skill of how to manage that communication and the health aspects of turning it off sometimes. So
I think it's, one, you owe it to yourself, because it could feel fun to like have multiple things and like stay busy and then all of a sudden my day's done. But like, I get trapped in that. And it's like, I didn't feel productive. Okay. Let's look back at how my day went. Like, it was terribly time managed. Like, I was placating to everyone else's needs.
Yep.
Didn't like set boundaries.
Yep.
So yeah, I think like the work aspect is great. And like setting up like I don't know if you call it a contingency plan, but we do have this like phone disconnection detox program on the site. And the people that have completed it and done it are like, that was profound. And what a simple thing to like go a weekend without 24 hours without your phone.
So cleansing.
But to lead up to that, you have to like think through life, and you have to think through, okay, like, hey, tell all the people I love, this is what I'm going to be doing. It's like I'm in the 70s. I don't have a cell phone. You have to print out maps. You have to like think through what your life's going to look like. Some people think it's the best 24 hours that they've had in 10 years. And it's like, it's pretty awesome. So if you could have little chunks of that during your day, if you have a family, like, talk about it.
I have been through I have done this, right? And it is somewhat profound. I mean, it's palpable.
Yeah.
Not being near your phone. Like, so Cece and I do travel quite a bit. A lot of people know we have a travel van. We try to get and go places and do things. And a lot of times we're in places where you just don't get signal. And I have to be honest, like immediately there's a little bit of anxiety. Like, oh my God, we have no Wi-Fi. We have no cell signal. The reality is what do I really need that for? I came here to get out on this hike or enjoy this very secluded beach, go surf or do whatever else. Yet there's that feeling, that immediate feeling or reaction of I'm out here and I can't communicate. It doesn't take me very long to get over that. And then I'm just like, yep, well, I'm just not going to get any communications today.
You're forced into it.
You're forced into it, which again can be very, very healthy. So I think people also ask like, okay, so if nothing's going out, does that also mean nothing can come in? So is it a two-way street here? Like when you're in a Faraday cage, if signal can't go out, does that also mean stuff can't come in? Should you have fear of missing out? Or at the end, when I do pull it out, do I just not ever get the communications that people tried to have with me?
Question.
What was in the silent pocket?
Yeah, it's like you're frozen in time, but everything's waiting for you. So when your phone regains service and you take it out of a sleeve or whatever, it just populates with everything that you missed. So you don't lose any information. Like maybe you have FOMO because you find out that you missed a party invite or something, but so be it. That's life.
Right. But ultimately, if that was sent in a text message or an email and
everything will populate on it's just waiting for you in the cloud. It's like, where you at, Scott? Yeah. But the other thing I was going to say is that going back to these devices, like we have, it's such a general statement, but like people, I think for the most part, have a feeling, and kudos to the righteous people out there that don't feel like they have to respond in any due time. Like, kind of like that. Mm-hmm. We have this weird feeling like we have to get back to everyone.
This is what I meant about being overwhelmed with the amount of communications.
And it sucks. Like, text message or this and that. Like everything is supposed to be immediate and urgent. The receiving end wants, or if you receive it, the other people want instant gratification.
Like you're obligated to get right back.
Answer. And while we're doing that, we're pinging all these different people into whatever they're doing in their life and asking them to give us attention. That might pull them out of flow. That might pull them out of like time with their kid or exercising or something. Like I've been working out and going to a gym, which I haven't done like many times in my life, but joined a gym now that I'm a Nevada boy. And I'll catch myself being like, I want to get out of this workout. And then I'll reply to a message. And then all of a sudden that feels more important than it actually is.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to take time to do this. And then kind of like slowly fades my energy. So that's just one small example, but like setting aside the devices and just like owning your life for small chapters. It's the best.
Yeah. I just go back to the kids and the parents thing, and the parent that might be a little anxious about not being able to for their kid to be able to get in touch with them right away. Like that's teaching your kid independence. That's teaching your kid some resiliency and some problem solving skills. And again, just being able to handle some situations on their own. if you want to take it all the way to the whatever end of whatever concocted story you can make up, look, I spent many, many days, when I say many, more fingers and toes than I have in the emergency room as a kid for any number of things.
Nice.
Yeah, I was out there. I was doing stuff. I was playing pretty hard. Broken arms, broken legs, both done them all. Feet, dislocations, lacerations, concussions. I was maybe in there with the other kid that I was playing with because whatever. This was well before cell phones. My mom worked at a hospital, right? So she kind of understood like...
She's like, hey, Scott,
yeah.
I'll get right to you.
Oh, there was a point when I was actually a teenager where I was on a first name basis with the entire ER staff at Good Samaritan Hospital here. I'd been in there so many times for sports stuff, but also just me being a total imbecile. Mostly sports, though, because that's where I spent most of my time. But the point of that is like, as a kid, like, yeah, we got taken to the emergency room. My mom didn't know until they somehow somebody tracked her down, right? Because there was no cell phone. And that was just part of growing up. That was part of life. Like your kid needs, something to eat. Like figure it out, man. Like you can't figure it out. These are easy problems to solve that kids should be solving. And we've given them these phones, or we've given this ability to get like that instant response all the time. So parents have to instantly parent all the time. And that leads to that helicopter thing. Like I have to be there all the time for my kid instead of letting them make their own decisions. That one's a big one for me because when it popped up, I was like, I understand you might have some anxiety here, but I have more anxiety about you not teaching your kid how to take care of themselves. And again, that might be a little bit harsh, but if your kid needs your attention 24/7, what kind of life is that?
Yeah.
What kind of life is that? That's a really tough one for me to wrap my head around.
When you said that, it made me think of just kind of the erosion of responsibility.
Yeah.
Like if we're friends and we make an agreement to meet up at a certain time, the cell phone is the easiest way out of that. Like it gives anyone an excuse and justification behind that. Like, oh, I'm going to be late, or this came up, I can't make it. Like it makes it so much easier to cave on your
obligation
or what your intention was. That dinner got canceled, and I guess I'll try to meet up with them again. Like it's,
I think that also goes hand in hand with being overwhelmed with doing that too frequently, like over committing to things because it's easily followed up with
multiple friends that I'm like at with.
I'm terrible. I'm terrible at this, man. Like I have so many.
What do you mean? I was going down the road of people overcommitting.
Yeah.
Like you overcommit.
I have a terrible problem with this.
Do you have somewhere to be in 20 minutes?
No, I do not. But I have a terrible problem with this. Like, oh, I need to get back to this guy in this conversation that had been started. And I think part of it is me initiating or answering like an initial message or something at a time I shouldn't be answering it because maybe that conversation should have been handled with, okay, I'm leaving myself this time during the day in order to respond to these people. And then within that time, I will then commit to a time where I know I'm going to be able, because that's a regular part of, or I'm going to be able to do that because it's going to be a regular part of my day. But oftentimes, and I got friends out there, and thank God they're my friends and they're so patient with me, at times where I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like I had every intention of getting back to you. This was poorly planned on my part. And it wasn't that you weren't important. It's that I didn't make the time important. There were other things going on. I should have known that. And
but why would you have to lead with, I'm sorry?
Okay, because I feel guilty that I didn't get back to them in a specific time period.
That's on them.
I get that. But that doesn't take away from me feeling that way. But it's also a little bit of like, I should have known better. I should plan. Like if I have these people that I know I want to, it's not that I don't want to get back to them and that I don't feel a responsibility to doing it. It's planning to do that the right way. And I think, again, the social media thing makes it really tough because everybody is so accessible sort of all the time. And I do feel an obligation to getting back to people that take time out of their day to formulate a well-formulated question or, get some information or whatever else from me. And so like when somebody does that and takes time out or they're reaching out to me to answer a question for them, I respect that highly. And, I guess my point of that is like, I want to give them the time, back that's so hard to do sometimes. And so again, I guess what I'm saying with that overcommitment piece is like a lot of times I feel like I've overcommitted to answering all the questions. It gets very, very hard. And then that just compounds on the like, well, this dude didn't get back to me. Like, why didn't he get back to me? That's what I'm thinking in my head,
I like your cadence. Like it might take you a day or two to text me back. And I'm like, personally, like, don't worry about me. I'm good. Like, and I think that's nice. You have to have an understanding that people do not owe you, unless it's something like you got plans going on and you have something like concrete. Then like there's a respect, and I appreciate that. There's endless different things to communicate about, but I don't think, at least I want to get to a place where I don't feel. My wife, she is the best at it. She's not phased by anything. She's like, I'll get back to him next week. Like, you're savage.
Yeah, I think again, I'll go back to I think social media has made this very, very challenging for a lot of people, including myself, because I never played in social media until only a few years ago. And how much more that exposes you to potential conversations. There's power in that. It's great. It's a great thing. But at the same time, it can be very unhealthy and very, very costly. And I mean, time and money, because time is money at the end of the day, and you can't get that time back. So let's move on. A couple different. It's
a fun topic to
it is. It's very. I think you could go on about it. It's a whole podcast probably on how to manage yourself better.
Get a few other people in here
and kind of back and forth it for sure. There's things that, again, with the devices, I think come up, people ask me about it because they see me using it, or they ask me like, what's that? Or, what are you doing? Or I don't really understand this. Why is this such a big deal? And then they come up with these little tiny questions like I mentioned, well, when I say tiny questions, they're insignificant to me because I'm like, you just need to think through this a little bit better. But there are technical questions that people ask. I was asking about like, what happens to my information if it's in the bag, and people are trying to text me or DM me.
Question.
It sits in the cloud. What if like, I think we already talked about this at the beginning, is my phone going to ring in the bag? No, it will not.
Nope.
It won't, because the cellular signal is being blocked. What about like, okay, so I use a lot of people, and I stopped doing this, but a lot of people use their cell phone, they lay it right on that nightstand table right next to their bed, and they use it as their alarm to wake up every morning. Will my alarm go off inside the bag?
Yep.
Or the pouch?
Will. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's your alarm, like the clock is internal. It's not dependent on service. So it's an internal clock that goes off. So yeah, and you'll hear it. We're not blocking audio. Like maybe someday we'll do audio masking, but we're not blocking audio, muffling it, but you'll still hear your alarm go off.
Yeah, especially.
So you could have it near you. You have that, comfort that it's within arm's reach, but you're blocking radiation to your body. You're blocking that distraction. You've made an intention to keep it out, and your alarm still works.
Can I charge my device in there?
That's a bit of a tricky one. You could put an external battery and plug it in. We've prototyped and made some like plug-in versions. Just haven't done it before. Does it
compromise when you do that? Does it compromise the security of the bag when you're doing some way to like a?
Yeah. It's like a waterproof. It's like a waterproof bag. You think about it like a Ziploc. Like if you zip it up,
the seal is broken.
Like if you had it partially open and put it underwater, like water's getting in. So you have to have it fully sealed. So it's not perfect, but it's, typically people have plenty of time to charge their devices throughout their day.
I agree. It's just, again, a convenience thing. Oh, there's the power cord by the nightstand. I plug it in. I know it's going to be charged in the morning. Couple questions. This one goes hand in hand. It's a two-part question. One, what happens when I go to the airport with I already know the answer to this one, but I think a lot of people ask that.
Great question.
Yeah. What happens when I go to the airport with my laptop or my phone in a sleeve? What do I have to take it out? Do people ask? Can the X-ray see through it? Those are all things they're curious about.
Yeah. Well, one, if it blocked X-ray, you'd be in trouble. We're not doing that. So luckily, the materials scan like regular textiles. So while X-ray could penetrate it and propagate images of your phone or what you have inside, and say you have like the 20-liter Faraday dry bag, got everything stuffed inside there. I mean, if you have TSA pre-check, you're not taking out your devices.
Anyway, yeah.
Scans normal. I've never had an issue. No one's ever had an issue. I did get like a little like curious eyes in different countries where I was like, what's this? But you're not doing anything wrong, one. And two, you should never have to take out your devices. So even like the last minute, I still have my phone on me, keys, wallet, whatever, slide it in a little Faraday bag. Like how much, that feels so much better. Sending it off to its death march.
It's all in the same spot anyway. Which answers kind of the second question, where is there anywhere, any situation where having your devices in a Faraday cage is illegal or against the law?
Maybe in the Middle East.
That's interesting.
Not sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
not in the United States.
If you're emitting RF, like you have a jammer, you're emitting signal, you're violating the FCC. Like if we were a radio broadcast, we'd have permission to push this conversation out
into the atmosphere. Yeah.
But if you had a device where you were like emitting and like jamming something, granted, if it was in this room, all good. But if you're doing it in a public space, then yeah, that's not permitted in the U.S. And I'm sure a lot of countries, but other countries don't also kind of bleed that into, and I can't name them by name, but bleed into like, oh, you're blocking signal, then that's a problem. And maybe that's illegal because it's obligated that if you have a device, it has to be connected.
So I have my own experiences. So I traveled quite a bit with my silent stuff in airplanes and airports. And that is one place, like I always like feel a little funky about my devices being exposed anyway. Like if I thought like if there's somebody that's got the brain power, also maybe the tech and the willingness to try and, let's say, hack into somebody's, personal device, airport's a great place to do that, right?
Very ripe.
Yeah, tons of people, everybody's carrying an electronic device. So
no one's thinking.
It's a target-rich environment.
They're just trying to get to where they're going.
Right.
They're just walking around, very vulnerable.
Right. There's an international component to this that I think, like, for me is interesting. Like, I don't know what bank securities are like in other parts of the world, or what's more exposed, or, what technologies exist in certain places that could be leveraged in that type of place. All I know is I don't want to find out. Mm-hmm. So, like, I always feel good about putting my stuff. Whenever I go to the airport, it goes in the sleeves. I have a backpack. I have a Silent backpack, which has the insert, big sleeve that I use.
The insert that kind of forms it out.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And so when I travel, and oftentimes if I'm going to do any podcasting, like I have a huge Pelican case where all my cordage, my tripods, all my sound equipment, things like that kind of goes in, but I don't put my cameras in there for a couple of different reasons. One,
are you checking that?
I'm checking the Pelican.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to check your cameras.
Exactly. So I don't want to check my cameras because I'd probably never see them again.
We do make a product for Pelican.
Well, let's come back to that. I got to know about this. So all my cameras go in this form-fitting bag, fits in my backpack, which also fits my laptop and my phone. Everything goes into this thing. And you mentioned something about not having to take your devices out. I found that can be an issue some places. Different TSA agents are different in different places. But the reality of it is in most places, you don't have to do that anymore. It just needs to go through the x-ray.
Yeah.
Right? So everything's in that bag for me. I just throw it onto the belt, and it just push it on through. It comes out the other side. Versus what I used to do would be pull out my stuff, put it in the bin, right? And then at the end, I'm through the other side. Now I'm putting my shoes on, my belt back on, like, did I have my hat, my sunglasses, was my phone, my laptop, all that stuff. If I left anything behind? No, I've just found peace of mind. It's all in that bag. It doesn't have to come out of that bag. I did have an interesting conversation with a TSA agent once. They're always interesting, actually, whenever you're talking to those folks.
Yeah, they're could be kind of righteous.
Yeah, that's it. Like, what is this? What's in here? You got a lot of equipment here. What is this? Are there batteries? Yeah, it's all in there. It's on the x-ray. Like, I think they're just curious to kind of know why it's all stuffed in, or what's this bag that it's in, because it looks different.
It's like a little grayed out, but not like anything nuts.
Yeah.
So we've never had a problem in 10 years.
I haven't had a problem. So
but you might warrant a few looks.
That's what
questions.
I have had that.
You get different personalities that want to.
But I get that quite frequently. I mean, I've been, for all different kinds of reasons, not just because of my silent stuff with my cameras in it, but I throw all my Zoom, my cameras in there, my lenses, it all fits in there, and then I take it on the plane. It's right there with me the whole time, and I don't worry about it. But nice. and I can keep everything in the bag. So that kind of answers the airport question.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, it's TAA compliant, go through security, no problem. And at the same time, the airport is a place where you're at heightened risk for getting hacked or tracked or information. So yeah.
One of the questions that I've gotten before is the whole EMF question.
Yeah, good one.
Or EMP.
Oh, EMP or EMF?
EMP, we can come back to the EMF, but the EMP question, like, would this block an EMP, electromagnetic pulse? And, people are going, oh, this is the tinfoil hat conversation. Mm-hmm. We're going to end of the world shit and whatever else. For a lot of the clients that you work with, this is very real concern.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest threats to the military, the U.S. for sure.
At any given time. So this makes perfect sense from a contextual perspective, but also for a regular guy like me, should I be concerned about this? And does this protect me from that if I was concerned for whatever reason?
To answer your question, yes, they do protect against EMP, electromagnetic pulse, as well as HEMP, which is high elevation electromagnetic pulse. Would be like nuclear warhead going off in the atmosphere, blasting everything down below. I mean, these are real threats. They're not fun to think about. You don't have to get all wrapped up and paranoid, but we do have a big component of the U.S. that is proud of their freedom, and they're in preparation, and they're have a heightened awareness of what could happen. And some people are extreme on the side of preppers, and we know that. But then there's natural disasters, and there's issues that you should have a strategy, a few things in place.
A plan.
There's cool products people are like, well, if an EPN hits, none of my electronics are going to work anyways. Even if I had it and it worked, how would I use it? There's companies like GoTenna and other mesh network companies or products that we could go on a hike and have 10 guys and all be communicating at free will because one person has a little antenna. So there's simple, inexpensive products that you could bundle together in our little 5-liter Faraday bag. It's waterproof, signal proof, keeps stuff inside. I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea by any means for people to have another look at being prepared for natural disaster or an event or EMP. But on the military side, huge threat.
Huge threat all the time.
That's one of the biggest things they're looking at.
Let's go back. Let's talk about the EMF stuff.
EMF, so electromagnetic frequencies is a general term, but it's typically applied to the radiation that comes out of your phone. So your phone operates on all these different frequencies, as mentioned over and over, but high frequency, low frequency, thermal heat. Those are kind of the three components. If I'm calling you and you got your phone against your head, that's when it's just let's go, baby. So I guess in one sense, there's, I'll backtrack. So EMF is this online topic. It's spoke about. There's a lot of confusion around it. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of data being thrown out and peer studied reviews and physiological responses. So what I'd say to EMF is if you're not actually blocking the wireless signal by fully shutting it down, or maybe you don't have a device and you're in an environment where you're not bombarded by Wi-Fi routers or other signals, then you're in a good place. But if you're looking for that easy button, that placebo, I'll call it, there's stickers out there, there's pendants, and they're all a scam.
Garbage.
They're all garbage because they're, design patents, and we spent millions of dollars in peer study review, but they don't block anything. They're supposed to neutralize your environment. Yeah, it's great money grab.
I've heard of these EMF rocks. Have you heard of these things? People.
I mean, I like crystals and things, and I like believing. I mean, maybe they're honestly, you get a little sticker and put it on your device. Are you changing your physiological environment? Maybe it's just headspace and you're actually beating the EMF, but it's all BS. There's no science behind it. Mm-hmm. Silent, we back our products up with science. So EMF is currently a very touchy subject. Mm-hmm. But there's other other brands are, I think, going in a decent direction. But essentially what they're doing is taking like third-party test data, crossing it with other tests, and then pulling out human metrics where it's like, oh, you're going to feel better and enhance your mood, more clarity. And
this happens all the time. And
claims are a big one, like
it's the same in like the fitness industry or supplement or diet industry or anything else. Like people are cherry picking data and doing whatever they want with it.
Yeah. And it's funny because like on Instagram as one platform, there's like some doctors that have been compromised, clearly like slid a lot of money to like
say stuff
back some BS product.
You mean to actually pay for the study? Like, or they're getting paid by the same company that paid for the study?
No study. They're just like endorsing it online
it's awesome.
with a video. And it's like,
the internet's awesome.
I mean, I can't help but look in the comments and people are just like, you caved, you failed. What are you doing? So that's an interesting space to get into. But yeah, our products, fully block EMF. So
let's talk about some of the other products. We talked about like the laptop sleeve, the cell phone sleeve. We've talked about the crossbody bag, which is one of my favorites. It's one of those ones like people like, it's so funny. People go, oh, you got yourself a Merce. Look, dude, like I've got a bag that carries my stuff when I'm like at the beach wearing my board shorts that has like no pockets or one pocket in it.
Dude, you're hip.
Yeah.
That's on trend.
It's wild actually. Like back in the 90s, in the late 90s, early 2000s, worked for a big fitness company, and the coaches was part of the uniform to wear a little fanny pack. You kept your appointment book in there because not everybody had cell phones. It wasn't all digitized yet. You kept appointment cards in there, a few other things, right, that you used on the floor for coaching. And people like coaches didn't want to wear them. Like, these fucking things, they're 80s. This is the 80s. This looks stupid, but we required it. It's like this, you will wear something. So people had all different types and sizes and things like that. It became kind of a thing. It was very uncool, right? And then that went away, and now all of a sudden it came. They're back. Like everybody's got a fanny pack or whatever the hell you're calling them now.
They're like Crocs now.
Yeah. I still can't do those.
You have a bone to pick with them?
I cannot do those. Man.
I caved.
Stop.
Well, I bought my daughter the cutest Crocs. They're like this
big.
That's
fine.
And we got matching charms, and I was like, this is when I'm going to cave.
All right, bro. Okay.
But I know that's a polarizing subject.
Yeah, that's the Croc. No on the Crocs. But when you put the kid in the way, like as the shield, like, I can't.
That was my justification.
Yeah, well done. But my thing with this is like there are times during like, particularly on the weekends is where I find I use it the most, because I'm out like in and out of the van, or like if I'm traveling, or where I can't sit still. So like we're out and we're active a lot. And so if we're moving kind of from one place to another and we're sitting down, standing up, like inside restaurants or bars or, whatever else, or doing touristy things, we're hiking or whatever else, it's something that I can grab and put on. It's not a full backpack. I don't need that much. I don't need that much carrying or like storage, to carry with me. And I sweat like a mother, right? So when it's been hot. So, I put that thing on and my t-shirt gets soaked, right? Because I'm sweating through it. I got the strappy line things and my back of my t-shirt's soaked. So I found this to be really convenient because it houses the basic things that I need. And again, going back to being prepared and, just for whatever life might throw at me. If people listen to the show, they know that I try to stay prepared for lots of different things. So, if I'm out and about and I'm going to be away from, say, like, again, go back to the travel situation, I'm away from my van, or if I'm on the road, like even in a hotel, travel situation, and I don't, like at the van, I carry a pretty robust, like first aid kit in there, the trauma kit. But when I'm away from the van, if we're going to go out on a hike or be like travel onto the beach and go into the downtown areas or whatever, I'll carry a small IFAC with me and I can put that in there. There's plenty of space. Yeah. And my phone goes in there. There's a Faraday sleeve in there, so I can put it in there if
You're a good citizen.
Yeah, like I'm trying to stay prepared. There's plenty of room for a tourniquet. People ask me quite frequently, and I don't usually get into this online, but does it work for EDC? If you're carrying either a blade or a firearm, 100% it does. Carries both. It does that just fine. It organizes it well for me. I had to figure out what worked best for me in terms of what the holster situation looked like inside there. But that's very personal, and it's also based on whatever you're carrying and all that stuff. So I don't want to get into that. But that goes in there, right? Also, anything else. If I'm traveling, my ID, my wallet, those types of things. That's what goes in there. And my point of that is it's a very convenient way to carry all that stuff. So my pockets aren't full. If I'm walking around in flip flops and board shorts, right? Like I can't stuff all that stuff in my pants like I can, in my jeans or in my other, clothing that I might be wearing. So that's where that thing has worked out really well for me. I really enjoyed it, and I get, again, people see it online and like because we've done a few posts with it and whatever. And they've had questions. So hopefully that answers some of those. I talked about the backpack a little bit that I use always. If I'm in the airport, I'm always carrying that and on the road. I had some questions about it. I was recently at a firearms event down in Southern California, and I had all my camera equipment in there because we were traveling, but kind of pulled it out and put it on the table, and we were showcasing it, and folks were like, "Oh, I think I've seen that thing." I've seen some other people wearing that, and it was really interesting. One guy walked up and was like, "Dude, I just ordered, 2 of their cell phone sleeves last week." And so we got into this conversation. So people are aware of it, but they look good too. People are like, "Oh, it looks cool. Can I get my hands on it?" And I was like, "Yeah, man,
great.
Show and tell. Touch and feel. Play away. Do whatever you want." Like, it's very good material. It's got good weight to it. It looks good. The other thing is it doesn't scream EDC.
That's pretty mute.
Very. And so it's not like, I'm not a guy that wears a lot of branded stuff outside of my own. I'm a hoard of my own brand. So you'll see me wearing Red Dot or Iron Sight stuff all over. But it's not screaming like this has my tourniquet and my IFAK and my firearm and my wallet and my life inside it. It's what I'd see out on the street from a lot of people carrying stuff. So that's where it's worked well for me. I want to talk about some of the other products. You mentioned the Pelican Case product. Yeah,
we have a Pelican Case insert.
Was it just like a liner that covers inside?
Essentially.
And does this, is it just for certain size Pelicans?
We can make it in any size. We just have it right now. I'm forgetting the model number, but it's like the Pelican.
They have a million models.
Pelican Air.
Okay, yeah.
One of the smaller ones, like a check-in size.
Yeah, it's like it's just like a typical carry-on.
Yeah, so you just outfit the inside of your Pelican Case. There's companies that sell like $3,000 EMP hardened cases that are heavy and cumbersome and expensive. Mm-hmm. So we have a soft goods solution that could equip your existing equipment, line the inside, put whatever you want inside, roll down, clip shut.
Okay.
Close the lid. Blocks EMP, blocks all signal. So I was just saying in relation to like if you did have other devices inside that Pelican Case or you were concerned about XYZ, then you could just have this like non-cumbersome, like easy liner that outfits your Pelican Case.
I think it's awesome. I had no idea. That's cool. That could be one of my new favorite products. That's actually a Pelican Case that I don't have yet. Mine's a little larger. The ones that I have.
I've been using it a lot, and it's a little funny when you're going through the airport because it's like 2 rollerblades that don't move, and it kind of like wants to like waddle a little bit. But other than that, it's a great little carry-on.
So the insert that goes in the case,
yep.
You said it's a roll top, much like the backpack that I have.
Yeah,
it's a roll top, so it makes it somewhat. Well, Pelicans are generally pretty watertight.
Yeah, it's not. We used a really thin material, so it's like as lightweight as possible.
Gotcha.
So it has some water resistance to it, but the product itself's not designed to be submerged. So the Pelican Case is already waterproof, dustproof, shock resistant.
So I feel like a lot of my buddies who travel around the country and train or conduct training for a lot of folks, they're dealing with night vision, radios.
Night vision's a really
optics, like a lot of electronic equipment, lasers, stuff that goes on. I mean, some of the stuff that some of these companies are coming out with right now, like rangefinders and things like that attach to your firearms or otherwise, having rangefinders, anything that basically has like a computer chip or any electronics
They're
at all.
really sensitive.
They're very sensitive.
And expensive.
Extraordinarily expensive.
Yeah.
Especially if you're buying the good stuff. Just like anything else, we can come back to this. There's a cheap version of anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the free market, right? And the consumer drives that, like if they want to buy that cheap shit. But the bottom line is like, I have a lot of friends that travel with a lot of that stuff pretty frequently.
In a Pelican Case?
In a Pelican Case.
Oh.
So
we should talk to them.
Like that stuff goes in there. Do you do any, like you were talking about night vision, are you doing like specific like night vision goggles or setups, monocular, binocular type things?
We have something in the works, but our existing products work fine for that. Like given the size, like we have the dry bag series, which are like, a bigger cavity so you could fit things inside. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of use cases where like night vision is becoming more in demand on commercial side as well as military. And it's like, oh, these things are actually like, $20K like it gets more expensive than that.
Way more,
But they could just be like fried very easily. So yeah, pretty low, inexpensive product could safeguard your, $20K product.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, I don't care if it's a couple K, right? Like, but you're talking about night vision, which yes, can get up to.
I'm talking about $150.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to get into this. What guys are spending on other gear, right? That think they're going to gain capability out of spending money on gear and strapping it to whatever, whether it be a chest rig or a plate carrier or onto their rifle or a handgun or whatever else, with no thought of how am I taking care of this? Or again, they're trying to buy capability versus maybe being able to protect the stuff that they have for $150. That makes perfect sense to me. That's cool. I had no idea you guys were doing that.
Yeah, we want to equip the good person that's mobile in everything that they carry and make it relatively effortless and allow them to have, more protection in those three categories: privacy, security, and health for all their devices and themselves.
Any cool products that you're working on right now that you can talk about? Yeah. What's the mad scientist up to these days?
Well, we like to make products that are with a customer in mind. So whether that's like a business or military or something, it's nice to like ideate and then go through like a creation phase with a feedback loop. Mm-hmm. And so we're developing a few things that I can't speak about, but we have been decently public with some of our wearables. We have a jacket that has an integrated Faraday pocket. So there's other brands out there that claim like Faraday jacket and t-shirt, and they're just partially blocking signal, and it's a bit of fugazi. But we're actually making a Faraday jacket, like
That's cool.
True to the term. So yeah, we'll launch that at SHOT Show.
I can't wait to see that because I love the look of the other products. I'm into the style.
With the aesthetics. Like I'm sure people will just buy it because it's a killer jacket. All made in the U.S., very compliant, U.S. materials, U.S. made. It'll be expensive, but it's going to have an insane warranty and functionality and usability, like a lightweight, breathable, like rain jacket of sorts, but like all weather. So
I'm going to go back to, like you said, you mentioned the word expensive. I'm just going to go back to what I was saying before about the amount of money people will spend in it with the intention of either protecting themselves, being prepared for something, or it gives them a different level of capability or kind of a superpower, going back to like the night vision type thing. I think expense is relative to what your use case is, and what your real needs or why is. So going back to use case, I can't wait to see it. Again, I dig the style, and I love what you guys do. Again, it's not part of it is you're not blasting the brand name all over it. It's very muted, was the term that you use. So it's not screaming to somebody else.
Kind of have to get a little bit closer to it, or like catch the light to see like what brand it is.
Right.
We have like a few, like the insiders know.
Yep.
There's a few components of the bag where like if you were from a distance, you'd be like, I know that brand.
Yep. Oh, that's what I got the other day. Like I was saying at that firearms event, it's like, yep, I've seen this before. Can I check it out? So.
And we have some more crossbodies and other things coming out that are a little bit more like fashion street, but they're really, really cool. What else? Yeah, nothing I could really speak about publicly, but things are in the works, and we have some other like carry items and backpacks coming out.
Yeah, I have so many backpacks. Like I love backpacks
because that's what everyone tells me, and they end up buying it anyways.
So my point is that's exactly what I'll do is I'll end up. But if I see some utility in a backpack that I don't get in another backpack, I mean, outside of it's a backpack, it's got straps, I can put shit in it, but it's got some cool features, and I feel like it's going to add, maybe a little bit more convenience or value to my day, and it looks good. Like backpacks, like some people are really into shoes. I happen to be into like backpacks. I have a ton of them.
I must bring up then, we have other backpacks, which we call inline, that are more commercial facing. But we do, and they're on our website right now. They're sold out, but and I think I told you last time, we've been dragging our feet a bit because we want to get it really right. But we have a backpack collection, 2 backpacks. One's like smaller, one's bigger, called the Incognito.
Right. You did tell me about this. I did mention
that, and we've just want to get it really right. Fully U.S. made with U.S. materials, non crazy price, but like extreme quality. 2 concealed carry compartments on the back, Faraday cages on the inside, one for dedicated for laptop, one for like a larger catch-all, kind of like your backpack.
Mm-hmm.
No external branding at all.
I want one.
It's just 100% looks like an insanely dope JanSport, but it's got all kinds of things going on the inside.
I'm ready.
It's your backpack. That's the one.
I'm ready. Can we do like an Iron Sights signature?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we should do one. I'm totally down.
So that should be in like a month and a half or so.
Oh, that's coming right on. It's a perfect time for my Christmas list.
Yep.
We'll put it on the Christmas list.
Yeah, we'll line you up.
We'll get it on other people's Christmas list too.
Yeah, I would check it out. Seriously, it's very cool.
Well, as usual, Aaron, it was great having you back in the studio. It's always good to just hang out. I love just chilling with you and kind of having you enlighten me and just having these conversations. And it's no surprise at this point that I'm a huge fan of the company and the products, and I'm super pumped to be associated with you guys. So thanks for coming down today, man.
Oh, thank you, man. I enjoyed it as well. It's like I'm a believer that you sniff out your people, and it just was like happened organically, and it feels right to talk about it. I don't do a ton of podcasts. I mean, lately I have, but yeah, it's an honor to be on here and chat about these real world things, and hopefully it lands with people to further educate and adopt something that's really useful in their life.
That was the whole premise of the show in the first place, was to help people get information on things they could do to avoid certain situations and to provide some type of value so that they could be prepared for things that are generally unexpected or they're trying to react to after the fact. I mean, that again was sort of the premise of the show alongside the health and fitness component. And it's been a while since we've gotten together like in the same room together. And I believe the next time I'll probably see you, with as busy as things are, is probably going to be SHOT Show 2024.
Yeah, I think that will be it.
Yeah, which is we come in full circle because that's where we literally bumped into one another at the show last year. And so I just want to encourage everybody listening on that show, because I assume you guys are having a booth again there this year, right?
Yep, same spot. I mean, people come by year after year, so same spot, just a little bit bigger. We'll have the whole crew there. So come meet the people of Silent and talk shop and talk use cases. And yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, go see the products. Yeah, get your hands on them, talk to folks. At SHOT Show, I'll be there. I'll come by.
Killer.
Good to see the whole team in person. It'll be good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's always like a ton of stress leading up to it, and then once you're there, you're like, it's on.
Yeah,
it's a good time. Yeah. I mean, I've had, the industry of that SHOT Show is like, we have employees that don't come from that at all, and they had the best trade show they've ever had.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, looking forward to it, and thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, man, you're welcome anytime. So I look forward to seeing you, man. It'll be a little while, but until then, stay safe.
Mm-hmm.
Keep disconnecting things from other things.
The director disconnection will not be a hypocrite.
And we'll talk to you soon, man.
All right. Sounds good.